So, New York City, July 12th, you have one of your fighters on. You have David Morrell going to be fighting
Yes.
a undefeated fighter, and he's coming off of a loss, a really good one with David Benavidez, going the distance with him. What did you think about the outcome of the fight? Yeah.
Well, I've said this, and you know, to me, I give Benavidez all the credit in the world. He won the fight um, cleanly, but I think Morale gained a lot in the fact that now he has a lot more experience, and experience did play a role in that fight. Now he has a lot more experience. I think he goes out there on the 12th, fighting with the Turk as the promoter, and goes out there and has a good performance, a solid win that gets him right back in the mix. And so I think he'll have another opportunity. I think him and Benavidez will revisit that fight at some point. And I always tell people this, just because a fighter won that night doesn't always necessarily mean he's the better fighter. Maybe he is the better fighter. Maybe he was just the better fighter that night. They'll revisit it again in the rematch, and we'll find out a lot. If he's able to beat him again, then obviously by far he was just the better fighter, and it wasn't just experience. But we'll see how that plays out. And we know a lot of times in rematches, they don't always go exactly to plan as what happened in the first fight. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm expecting him to have a good performance on the 12th. I'm expecting him to win, get much more experience, get in the mix to fight better BF or Bival. And then he'll obviously be in the mix to have a rematch with Benavidez.
So, I don't even want to butcher the man's name that Morrell's going to be fighting July 12th.
You and that makes me and you both. When they presented it to us, I said, wow. But obviously I've seen some film on him. He's a hell of a fighter. A lot of people in the United States don't know him, but he's a hell of a fighter, 90% knockout ratio. And you talk about jumping back into the fire, but I have all the confidence in David Morrell.
Do you feel like this win, I mean that loss that he took, is going to make him a better fighter?
Well, you know, it's not necessary. You always want to win every fight you can, right? I mean, you always want to win. But the silver lining in that is that you got experience and went the distance and got experience in a competitive fight and only your 11th pro fight with Benavidez. And Benavidez is pound for pound is one of the best fighters in the world. I know Benavidez. I lived with him for a time. He's a great kid. He's a tremendous fighter. He's one of the best in the world right now. There's no two ways about that. And to be able to be in a competitive fight with him, go 12 rounds, you can only become a better fighter because of it. But of course, you want to win. It didn't go that way, but like I said, I think he'll be a better fighter because of it. You can't. I always say this too, like we were talking about, not what you know, who you know, and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, experience. You can't buy experience.
Right.
You can't buy experience, and you can only have experience by going through the fires and the trials. And so, he got 12 rounds of experience against pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world, and I'm expecting that experience to pay dividends for him moving forward in his career.
Mm. Um, Now, Omac Original, thank you for the $2. Where is Barrios? So the last time we seen Barrios, I believe, was the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Is there any like timing? Do you feel like do you have an idea as far as what month we might see you guys in action?
You know, uh, again, that's up to Louis DeCubas Jr., Al
Okay.
Heyman, and I take the marching orders from them. They'll tell me, hey, this is what the time frame is, and get them in camp and get going and prepare them, and I take care of my job from there. But I haven't gotten any marching orders so far, so we'll have to wait on them and we'll wait by the phone and see what happens and transpires from there.
Nice. So also in that card, you a fighter that you worked with before, Carlos Adam, no, Puello, Alberto Puello is going to be fighting Subel Matias on that card as well. A very interesting fight, Dominican versus Puerto Rico, in New York City. I mean, what do you think about the fight per se?
You know what? I don't work with Puyo anymore. He's still a friend of mine. I wish him the best. Um, it's interesting because Matisse, when he was going into the fight with Liam Paro, I favored him in the fight, and Paro was able to beat him. And that was a little bit surprising. So I think Puello's a better boxer than Paro. And if Paro was able to beat him, I'm not saying that's how the fight is going to play out, obviously, because every fight's different. You could get hit with a shot. You could break a hand in a fight. You can break a jaw, an eye bone, or whatever the case may be. But outside of things like that, I'm expecting Puello to win a decision, but if the other guy can kind of draw him in and get him in a little bit of a firefight, then he's going to have some great action in the fight. But Puello's a hell of a boxer. He's a good mover. He proved that in the Gary Russell fight. He proved that when he won his first title with me with Matias, and he had that win with Marcos just recently. So I think if he could just stick to boxing, stay disciplined, don't get into exchanges, I think he should be victorious, but we'll see how it plays out. That's why they make the fights. And if he gets in exchanges, it could be interesting.
100%, 100%. Also on that card, an interesting fight: Shakur Stevenson and William Zepeda on the co-main event. What's your thoughts on that fight?
Well, um, Zepeda throws a lot of punches. We're gonna see if he's able to have that kind of punch output with a sharp shooter like a Shakur. I think if Shakur kind of holds ground center of the ring, sharp shoots, I'm expecting him to have a great performance and win. I just hope that he does that and fights a little bit more like Pernell Whitaker. Um, I'm never going to bullshit the fans. I'm always going to tell you what I think. In the De Los Santos fight, I thought it was a bad look for Shakur. I thought it was just way too much movement. And if he does that, even if he wins, I think his stock still he loses in the sense that you may win the fight, but you lose your stock with the fans. And so I think he's got to stay a little bit more center ring and be a little bit more like Pernell Whitaker. I'm not saying that you have to get in there and just bang away, a typical maybe a Mexican style fashion. But I do think that you have to hold ground and box in areas where it's not so much over movement, because then you lose, the fans lose, everybody loses. So I don't think he'll do that with him. And so I think it should be a good performance for him. But we'll see if Zepeda is going to be able to let his hands go at as high a rate as he does with lesser opponents.
Is this one of the more intriguing fights of that you got to see Shakur match up with?
Well, yeah, because like I said, this guy's an active fighter. He going to be able to swarm Shakur and outmaneuver him with output. We'll see if he's going to be willing to bite down and take shots and just said, you know what, tonight's the night, whatever it takes to get it done. Then we're going to be in for a great fight. If he's getting hit with clean shots, sharp shooting, and then he chooses, well, it's really not worth it, I'm going to pick more of my spots, then he has no chance to win, and Shakur's going to have a dominant performance. It's really going to come down to Zepeda. How much are you willing to sell out to get this win? How much of your soul are you willing to put on the line to get this win? If he's willing to give it all, then we're going to be in for a great